Hello, welcome. It's No Apologies on Beck, where we are unafraid to speak the truth. I am your host, Rick Becker. We are without a co-host tonight, so we're going to be batching it. Got a couple of things to talk about. Representative Cory is going to be in the House, and we're going to be talking to her what's life like after the first legislative session. A couple of other things, Second Amendment we want to talk about. We've got some executive orders and mailbag we're going to be hitting tonight, so a bunch of stuff. First up, though, there's one article, and I want to go through it with you. It's a great article. We've been talking a lot about our budget and our debt in the nation and what it means and whether inflation is coming and all the ramifications thereof. So go ahead and pull up the first graphic. Reason.com. Reason is a magazine I used to get for years. Great magazine. Anyway, Reason.com now is a good source for news. They're libertarian leaning, small government leaning. I don't agree with everything they say, but they've got a lot of good content. So I'm just going to walk through this article with you, and we're gonna hit some of these highlights because they bring up a lot of good points. In the article, it says it was a full quarter century ago when President Bill Clinton delivered one of the few quotable State of the Union addresses in American history. Maybe you know where I'm going here if you recall. Bill Clinton said, "The era of big government is over." He said that in 1996. And if you on the screen there, you saw that the title of this article is "The Era of Small Government is Over." So that's in contradistinction to what Bill Clinton said in 1996. They go on to say here, that succinct conception of limited government likely would, if expressed today, make any Democrat effectively unelectable, at least on a national level. So this really highlights that we have gone tremendously into a different arena with regard to how we view spending and how we view debt and deficits. So they're proposing that a Democrat could not get elected with a position with a statement like that, and I think that's absolutely true. I mean, we've gone into a tremendous new arena. In '96, when Bill Clinton made that statement, the U.S. had run a deficit of about $106 billion. That's tiny. That's tiny by the standards today. Yet at that time, both parties saw that as being too high. And the thing is, they would hold each other accountable, of course, conveniently. When the other was in power, they would say, hey, the minority party would say the majority party's spending too much, and then vice versa. But that friction held the other party somewhat accountable. There was a prominent Democrat senator, and that Democrat senator said, "I am one of those Democrats who voted for the constitutional amendment to balance the budget. I have introduced on four occasions, entire plans to balance the budget." He said this in 1994. Who am I talking about? President Joe Biden. So you see how far even Joe Biden has moved since the 90s. Completely different world. Recall in the 90s that Republicans had taken control in 1994. Remember the contract with America. They promised in that contract fiscal restraint and a lot of talk about the balanced budget amendment. So they were swept into power. And so that's where the Democrats felt like they really needed to counterbalance that. That's when Joe was all in favor of balanced budgets. Interestingly, it's that same senator, now president, who is looking at, after just spending $1.9 trillion and then another $900 billion, wants to spend another $2.25 trillion on infrastructure. It's ostensibly, arguably on infrastructure because only a small part or a portion of it is on infrastructure. So much of it is for ridiculous things. Think about the $1.9 trillion that we just spent, just passed out in March for COVID. We're already on the downslope. Things are opening up. The vaccine is rolling out at more than 1 million, upwards of 2 million vaccinations a day. So the net necessity for the $1.9 trillion was not there, and we've covered that in a previous segment. The the alleged hole in the economy, which was caused by government, state governments primarily, but also our federal government, came to about $350 billion a couple of months ago. So why the need for $1.9 trillion? Why not just ride it out? The situation now is that there used to be a bipartisan movement toward wanting to reduce the budget, and now there is a bipartisan movement or willingness to allow that deficit to grow. Even the right wing, the Republicans, are advocating for more subsidies and more debt. Anyone, and there's only a couple in Congress now, but anyone who's a budget hawk, is a fiscal hawk, very, very, very lonely job. And I can attest to that in the North Dakota legislature, being one of very few people that's overly concerned about the spending that we are doing. Now in North Dakota, we're not allowed to go into debt and into deficit. It's not allowed per the Constitution. However, we did borrow $680 million, something like that, from the future to pay for infrastructure now, which is crazy. So it's interesting what happened with Biden from the 90s to now. The biggest, as it states in the article, most pivotal point was running against Bernie Sanders. When Sanders conceded, the very next day, Joe Biden said, you know what, we are going to take a lot of Sanders' policies to heart. We are going to promote student loan forgiveness, lowering Medicare eligibility to the age of 60, and several other things that were all the freebies, the gimmies, the Sanders socialist policies. He adopted those. So that was a huge shift, a huge shift. When you look at when he was running in the primary early on, he at that time was still alleging himself to be a fiscal hawk. He was trying to hold Elizabeth Warren accountable with all of her, and Sanders too, with all of their huge spending and their huge entitlement programs. He was saying, I want to know how you plan to pay for it. So he was positioning himself as the moderate. And it's so odd because typically in a primary, you position yourself more far left or more far right, depending on your party, and then you move to the center when you've won that position and you're running in the general. Biden did the exact opposite. Now, I don't know if it's because of a clear deterioration of his mental health. I don't know what it is, but he went from the center and moved farther to the left in accordance to bring on, I guess, acceptance by those that were supporting Bernie or Elizabeth Warren. Where we are going because of this acceptance is what's so concerning to me. When you look at the fact that we don't have the pushback, that we don't have the Republicans saying you're spending too much, and we certainly don't have the Democrats saying to the Republicans you're spending too much, that's concerning. Think about Paul Ryan. Back in the 90s, he was all about we have to eliminate the deficit. But it was Paul Ryan as Speaker of the House that actually nuked spending caps. They took away the spending caps, and there you saw the huge, huge increase in the budget. So you had a successive series of events. You had Bush, who said that he had to forego free market policies in order to save the free market. Most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Went into bigger spending, went into TARP, went into all of that, right? Obama comes in. Obama was actually starting to be fairly good on the deficit, but then you had one thing after another, where then he started racking up the debt. Then you had Trump come in. Trump promised he was going to cut the debt, but he didn't. He increased the debt, and then when we had COVID, he increased the debt even more. So you have now the party leapfrogging themselves, again, ostensibly because there are things that are coming up in the economy, but arguably these things weren't necessary. If you allow the market to run its course, we don't need to go into debt for those things. So you had Bush 43, and then you had Obama, and then you had Trump, and now you've got Biden. And each one now, because of their predecessor, no longer has the standing to say, hey, we have to be fiscal hawks, we have to be responsible. That's gone. It's completely taken away. So where do we go from here? who is going to stand up? And now we're at this point, they are looking at half of all tax dollars in the next couple of decades. Literally, 1/2 of every dollar you send in to the federal government is going to go to pay interest on the debt. Furthermore, if the interest rate goes up even 1%, we are in a bad, bad situation. And if it goes up 2, 3, 4%, if it comes even close to what it was in the 90s, Katie bar the door, I don't know what's going to happen. And now we have nobody wanting to put that check and that balance back in place. So I don't know. We're in trouble, folks. I think this is a brilliant article. Take a few moments to read it. Peruse the Reason.com website. Next up, Cory, Representative Claire Cory is going to be up. We're going to be talking to her, so come right back. We'll be here.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to pull them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
Hey Bucks fans, if you're planning an outing, birthday, or employee appreciation night, then bring your group out to the Buck Stop for a night of fast-paced, high-scoring football. Your group will receive discounted tickets, options for reserved seating, scoreboard messages, VIP services, swag, and a space to gather during the game. You can also participate in pre-game ceremonies, halftime entertainment, in-game contests, and more. Call 701-595-0771 or visit bismarckbucks.com/tickets. All GA is first come, first serve. We'll see you on the turf. Go Bucks!
Welcome back. It's No Apologies on Beck, and I have with me Representative Claire Cory, who has previously been a guest on the show. Claire, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me back.
You're in town. You notified me that you're in town, and I said, well, come on the show. What are you in town for?
I'm attending a Williston Basin conference.
Okay.
It's at the Bismarck Civic Center.
Mm-hmm. Is that an annual or every other year?
Every year.
Every year.
I think it's the 28th or something like that.
Gotcha. It's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How many attendees? Any idea?
in the 2000s.
Okay.
Mike Pompeo, former Secretary of State, is going to be there on Thursday.
Nice. I was yesterday. I was in Dallas, and I had a T-shirt on that said it was a Gadsden, a "Don't Tread on Me" kind of thing. And a couple of guys were like, "Hey, I like your T-shirt," and I'm like, "Thanks." And then the other one said to the first one, because they were on the flight to go to Bismarck, and I'm guessing they were going maybe to the petroleum or whatever Williston Basin Conference, and the one said to the other, "I have a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot of those."
That's awesome.
I didn't say anything, but I should have said, "Yeah, you are." All right. Was it interesting today? Did you? What?
Yeah, they had probably over 200 people, different companies that were from all around the country, actually, and just coming to show what they do. And then, you know, they had some nice speakers and stuff like that. So it was a really good networking event.
I would imagine. I'm sure a lot of the legislators go. I've gone to it before. I'm frequently, though, busy in clinic and stuff, which I am this week, so I will not be attending. But what else is new? It's been what? Has it been 2 weeks or 3 weeks since? 2 weeks. It feels like it was a year ago to me. So this was your first session. You're a noob, and you're a youngin. You're how old are you? 21?
22.
22. And so the perspective has got to be different than an old guy like myself. You know, I think maybe I'm cynical and blah, 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 but being a young person and just getting out there and getting it done, now that you're able to step back and take a moment, what are your thoughts? How do you think the session went?
You know, it's really interesting because as a young person, you think and you wonder if you're being taken seriously because of your age. And then the other part of it is that, you know, you have your whole life ahead of you and you're, you know, worried if you say something or if you take a certain stance, just like you were talking earlier on your segment. President Joe Biden had said stuff when he was a senator, and now people are looking at that, you know, so that's kind of interesting, thinking that I have my whole political future ahead of me.
Right, and everything you say counts.
Right.
Yep, exactly. Very interesting.
And everything I don't say also, you know, works both ways.
It does, absolutely. The other thing about being young, and possibly even more so being young and female, is the I think desire for legislators to try and, you know, bring you on board to what they want, or sort of mold you or get you to vote the way they want. Do you think you navigate? I'm not going to ask if it occurred because I know it occurred, but do you feel you navigated that pretty well?
I do. I think I just thought back to my constituents and thought back to how I would answer it to them. And it was hard at first trying to figure everything out.
Yeah. You know, the American Conservative Union is going to be having a ranking. And not even specifically a ranking, they just give I'll say a rating, because they're less concerned about whether you're first, second, third. They're much more concerned about overall what percentages of your voting record to good conservative bills. So we'll see. That probably is not going to be out for a few months. But you know, your seatmate is probably one of the most liberal, not probably, is one of the most liberal Republicans in the House. Did you feel like you had to sort of align with her somewhat, Emily O'Brien, or did you feel like, nope, there was no pressure, I could do what I wanted?
Yeah, I don't think there necessarily was pressure. I think it was more so just figuring out what to do as myself in the beginning. And then I kind of thought it was kind of funny that we both represent different parts of our constituents. So hers can be happy with her, you know, some people can be happy with her votes, others will be happy with my votes, and then, you know, we cancel each other out sometimes, so.
Yeah, so you consider yourself pretty conservative?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, that's good. I think you are as well. All right, the reorganizations, has that been an issue up in your area? I think that yours already took place, right? I think the last one is tonight probably, and that's in Bismarck.
Yep, mine already took place. Mine was on a Sunday night.
No shakeups, no big deal.
No, but District 17 in Grand Forks had quite of a battle.
Okay.
There's probably about 80 people there. And so, and weirdly enough, they had it the final night of session, so the representatives and senators couldn't be there from that district. And so there's people coming to Tri-Fourth and censure them, but they weren't even there to, so.
Weird. Yeah, that's kind of an odd situation. Yeah. Anything that you look back on that you think, I should have done that differently, or if that comes up again, say next session, I know how to navigate that better, anything like that, or anything that, conversely, that stands out, you're like, that was a situation that came up, I nailed it, I'm good.
Yeah, I think next time going into testimony, I'm gonna prepare a lot more. I guess I wasn't sure what to expect. I hadn't testified as or in my previous years of college or anything like that, so it was my complete first time. And then my wastewater bill that I worked on was my first ever bill in front of the Human Services Committee, and they kind of had a lot of railed me with questions a little bit on that, and we're gonna be bringing it back next session though.
Okay.
I've talked to some people, and they think it's a bigger issue now than it was before.
Really? Yeah, that happens a lot. You know, you'll find that you've got a great idea, a great bill, and it just doesn't get traction. And then 2 years later, or maybe even 4 years later, suddenly it's widely accepted. So I have no doubt that would have a good chance. And you know what we're talking about here, folks, is putting restrictions on the ability for government to test your sewage. And in this case, it's for COVID-19. Really, it could be for anything, any disease situation or any genetic situation. It's kind of a freaky, scary thing. And I was totally on board with Claire with this bill, but did not pass. Maybe in 2 years.
We did have Matt Ruby's bill that passed that I think wasn't it the cities had to authorize?
Yeah.
Or something like
that's
that.
That's a pretty dang weak bill. Yes, it had to go through the city, and then but they can say yes, and then it just, from my understanding, just opens the doors. So I mean, good job for Matt Ruby. I mean, it is something.
Start.
And apparently, that was all people were willing to do for their first step. So I think it's great, but we need to move forward with that. Any other bills that you, at this point in time, whether it not developed thoroughly, but just generally speaking, that you are like, yep, 2 years, I'm bringing that up?
Definitely some gambling, online poker, sports betting. It would be
Okay.
interesting to get scratch-offs into North Dakota too. Just being a young person, it's fun to gamble. Money going to charities, don't have a problem with it. So.
Yep. That's true.
I would love to do that. We didn't have success though in the Senate with gambling, so we'll see what if they're different.
But there's going to be a changeover in the legislature.
A big changeover.
Yeah, there will be, and the interest in gambling has, even from my time over the last 9 years, has started here, and it's kind of gone up pretty decently, and so that trend's going to continue. However, there's a big changeover with a lot of expected people retiring. That's going to probably really pop up. I suspect you'll have a good chance of getting some bills passed like that.
Right.
No doubt about it. All right. Well, Claire, that was quick, but it was good talking with you. Thanks for popping in. And next up, folks, we are going to be talking about Second Amendment stuff and a proclamation made by Governor Burgum. Hang with us.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it
Prairie Patriot Firearms and Training is the region's most complete gun and training center. 5-lane indoor range, a gun shop, and a certified training facility. Firearms training courses are offered daily for new, intermediate, and advanced shooters. If you're not comfortable in a classroom setting, Prairie Patriot offers one-on-one private lessons, from basic self-defense training to concealed weapons testing, along with a full line of guns, ammunition, holsters, and concealment clothing. Prairie Patriot, 3930 Memorial Highway, prairiepatriot.com.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York style pizza. We also feature Heroes, with the region's only Hero meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
All right, we're back. It's No Apologies on Beck, your after-hours oasis of sanity. Look who's here. It's Representative Claire Cory. She's going to stick around. We're talking about gun bills, and of course, being a legislator, she may have a thought or two on that. Now, the primary thing I'm bringing up is that I had House Bill 1283, and that made it so that if federal government passes any law regarding guns or ammunition or accessories that is more restrictive than our own North Dakota law, that law enforcement in North Dakota, state and local law enforcement, cannot enforce federal law. That makes it what some say is a sanctuary state. It's a sanctuary law. It's a form of nullification. We've covered that on this show. I was using the term, it's a Second Amendment preservation law. There were other states that did the same thing. And I'm going to have the guys bring up a map here. This is a map of Second Amendment sanctuary counties and states. So the green are counties that just said, yeah, we don't know what the state's doing, but we are going to be gun sanctuary. We are not going to enforce restrictive federal laws. Whatever Biden wants to do, we are not going to enforce it. And it's pretty hard to have it be a law if you're not going to enforce it, because there are not enough federal police, federal marshals, and federal agents to go all around the country trying to enforce federal gun laws. So that's green. Blue are the states that have enacted these laws, Second Amendment preservation or Second Amendment sanctuary laws. Purple simply means that there's a redundancy. Both the state and the county have passed these laws or ordinances. So if you notice there's quite a bit of area. There are actually 46% of all the counties, and it's increasing every day, are Second Amendment sanctuary counties. So 1,459 out of 3,144. Again, it's growing rapidly. Now, most of these are rural counties, so it's to say half the counties doesn't mean half the population. Of course, you've got the big cities that are ignorant on guns. They don't like guns, and they're not passing these things. In April, just last month, not only North Dakota, but also Montana, Nebraska, Oklahoma, West Virginia, all became Second Amendment sanctuary states. So I think it's fantastic. We did a great job. From your perspective, this is your first session, but overall, we did fabulous for Second Amendment. We had a lot of gun bills.
Yeah,
right?
we did. There was one that I really wanted to pass. It had to do with knife. We had it in judiciary. It had something to do with knives.
Yep, the definitions of dangerous weapons.
Yep.
Yes. And because in state law, it's ridiculous. We had to literally look up what these terms were for dangerous weapons because it's like it came out of the 1500s or something. And there was a bill that would have changed that to really simplify it. That didn't pass though, but I think it turned into a study. Yeah. So now there's an option if the Legislative Management Committee decides to study it, then we have the opportunity to bring that back as a bill to pass as a law next time around. So bring up the proclamation. This is a proclamation, very bold, from our governor, Doug Burgum. He proclaims that North Dakota is a Second Amendment sanctuary state. And it's very straightforward. It says that North Dakota will continue to take all the necessary steps to defend our constitutional right to keep and bear arms. And so there you go. I'm very proud that North Dakota is a sanctuary state. And, I have a little heartburn, but it's weird, Claire. I don't know quite how to phrase it because, for instance, that was my bill, 1383, right? And am I jealous because the governor is like taking the credit? Not really, because that's what happens. Same with South Dakota, Kristi Noem. Yep. It was hard work by the legislators, but she got credit, and that's fine. That's how it works. Here's the problem I have. Where was Governor Burgum through the whole process? Because that bill appeared, by all accounts, that it was going to fail in the Senate. Mm-hmm. And not one word, not one peep, no help, no assistance, no interest in any gun bill whatsoever. That's the problem I have. If he had been helpful, if he had even shown interest in preserving the Second Amendment, I would say, take it away, Doug. Make the proclamation, get the photo ops, do it. It's all yours. But where were you? You were silent. You were hiding behind the curtains. I don't know where you were, but you didn't do a dang thing for Second Amendment. And so it's kind of disingenuous now to be coming out. But I shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth, right? He signed the bills. He could have vetoed them. He signed the bills. There were at least 10 bills that passed, and they sent out an email regarding the various bills. There was the Stand Your Ground, right? Yep. And there were two versions of those. Do you remember who's passed? Magrum had one, and who else?
Koppelman's passed.
Koppelman's passed. So Ben Koppelman, fantastic job. He had at least half a dozen gun bills that passed. I had two. Luke Simons had a great one. It passed in the House, but not in the Senate. And that would have been if a gun is made in North Dakota and sold in North Dakota and used in North Dakota, it's not the business of the federal government. But that didn't pass in the Senate. Scott Lauser had one. Do you know if his passed? That was regarding liability protections for manufacturers of guns and of ammunition.
I think it passed.
There was a bill that passed that did that. It might have been Scott. So Scott, I mean, we have a lot of good legislators on the Second Amendment, no doubt about it. And so once again, I would say, we did great. One of my bills had a thing that just bugged me. It was a small thing, but there was that thing where you couldn't open carry except if it was daylight. So it was weird to me because, like, if it was December, you couldn't open carry after 4:30. Right. But if it's July, you can open carry until almost 11 o'clock at night. So it's just kind of weird.
Makes it hard for people to remember.
Well, I know and plus it doesn't make sense. There's no logic to it. Anything from your perspective, Claire? I mean, we covered so much. North Dakota's solid Second Amendment. Do you think there's something related to Second Amendment that maybe should be brought up in the next session? We'll say in addition to the whole dangerous weapons law?
Well, to be honest, I didn't expect as many as we had this session, and so I think that was amazing.
Yeah. I
thought that our Second Amendment rights were to the T, and so I couldn't think of any, but...
Yeah, I mean, that's an awesome thing.
Yeah.
A situation to have. You can't think of how to further improve. Now, there is one thing. My bill that changed the hours originally went in just to say anybody could carry anywhere, anytime. A true constitutional carry. But that was a little too much for people to swallow. We could always aim for that. But you're right, Claire. We had a great session with regard to the Second Amendment. It's a lot to be proud of. So, all right, folks, that's it for this segment. Claire, for reals this time. Thank you for being with us. And folks, next up, we are going to do a little mailbag, so hang with us.
We're the ladies of Another View, bringing you a fresh view on local issues.
And different perspectives you won't get on the mainstream media. Watch us weekday afternoons at 4:30 Central Time on Beck News and at beck.news.
When you're buying windows, make sure you're comparing apples to apples. Hi, I'm Jesse with the Window Source. We only sell you the best windows and doors for the best price. Call the Window Source. Just because you pay less doesn't mean you get less.
If you don't know what's going on in education in this country, then you don't know what's going to happen in the future of this country. And it's important. I'm Dr. Duke.
And I'm Katie.
Watch the Dr. Duke Show weekdays at 4 p.m. Central Time on Beck TV.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
All right. It's Mailbag. We are back, and we've got some good ones here, folks. People have been writing in. We have a whole array of things that come in via Facebook or text, and once in a while, as you know, if it comes in to me directly, I'll bring that up too, especially if it, and specifically if it pertains to things we've talked about on the show. So yeah, let's hop right into it. We are going to look at these, and this was from a discussion that I had on a paper that was published in 2019, discussing whether elected officials should vote according to what they believe, according to what their constituents want. And what I have determined that I think the right answer is according to what they want, because that is what they should represent to the people when they're running for office, and then they should hold true to that. So what did people say? Whether should legislators vote for what their constituents want? And of course, absolutely. And then someone says they should at least try to do routine advertised district meetings and ask people at those meetings so that they know what's going on. And someone says, no, follow the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. We are a republic, not a mob-ruled democracy. Now that person, I think, kind of is in the same line as I am. And someone says they should run on their principles and vote accordingly. Absolutely. And someone says if they vote according to the party platform in which they represent, there really should be very few disagreements between the two. Very, very well said. Someone else goes on to say that depends on whether or not voting for what the constituents want would violate the Constitution. Again, very true. And then other people say absolutely and yes, they were voted in to represent the people. And someone says they should at least ask their constituents out of common courtesy. That may be true. If they want to get reelected, they damn well better start. And it goes on. So yes, a lot of people believe that they should represent the wants of the constituents. Again, that discussion, I think, is a little bit more, is a little deeper than that. And I think that it's, again, in my opinion, to say specifically what you believe at the time of the election, and if those people vote you in, then by sticking with what you said you believed in, you are adhering to what the people who voted you in want. And that is true. And if it turns out that a greater number of people don't like it, then you get voted out next time. No big deal. All right, next up. We had a segment about Caitlyn Jenner, and because, you know, I'm told that I hate pretty much everyone and am transphobic and homophobic, et cetera, we had a segment on, I'm all about Caitlyn Jenner and for the governor's run in California. People asked, or we asked about what you think about my thoughts on that, and people chimed in and they said, I agree, you gave me a different perspective on Jenner. And then someone else said, wrong, you said she is running, no, he is running. Never agree with someone delusional, I assume they want. So if we go back to that, you know what, Caitlyn just had a video out, a promotional or a campaign video. It was awesome. And she showed herself as Bruce himself during the decathlon. So she's putting it out there. And I don't have a problem saying she, because I have common courtesy and respect for an individual. The problem I have with the whole, when people put the pronouns after their name, it's so stupid and it's so expected. And that's on a grand level from the leftists, right? And you should never assume someone's identity. Wrong. We assume things all the time. You live by normal rules. But once you actually know a person, and if you have any respect for them whatsoever, even if you feel that they're mixed up, to simply have some common courtesy. And if someone says, I'd like you to refer to me as this, and it appears by all means that they consider themselves that, I'm going to show that courtesy. That's all there is. Do I know that Caitlyn is actually a man? Sure. But it's no hair off my back to be courteous and kind to another human being, especially if you believe that there is an issue that they are struggling because of this whole thing. It's even greater reason to be kind to them, don't you think? All right, next up, we talked about grassroots. We talked about that quite a bit. And we took people's comments on it. And someone says, okay, it took me 2 nights to fit the full interview into my schedule. This was a discussion with Jared Hendricks, by the way. And then they say, full disclosure, no interview will ever supplant the Chronicles with Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Those were things Pulitzer Prizes are made of. But if I had to pick a close second, this was a fantastic interview and segment. And then someone else says, thanks for all your hard work, Jared. Next up, then we talked with Dustin Galrillo, kind of along the same lines, what's going on in the Republican Party and how there seems to be different factions and so on. Someone said, Hennon just said on his radio show the Bastiats won't be around in another year. Your thoughts? Well, my thoughts are they may and they may not. But the thing is that Hennon is completely ignorant on what the Bastiats are about. Hennon has his own narrative, and he is going with it 100%. It doesn't matter the truth. It doesn't matter that he has people who are self-proclaimed Bastiats on his show telling him what the situation is. He sticks with the narrative and he keeps plugging it. He doesn't care about the truth, at least not with regard to this situation. Now, Bastiats are just a loose organization of legislators that want to stick to the Republican Party platform. That's it. But you've got these media pundits that say it's so much more and that it's like a cult. So would a cult be around in a year or two? Maybe, maybe not. Would our legislators who believe in the party platform for the Republican Party in North Dakota going to be around in a year or two? Yes, they will. Will they talk together about bills? Yes, they will. So whether they use the name Bastiat, which I came up with in 2013, or whether they use a different name, we will be around, and we still will be fighting for the people of North Dakota. by way of adhering to and promoting the Republican Party platform of limited government, less spending, less taxing, personal freedoms, personal responsibility, legislative integrity. I mean, these are all fantastic things. So we'll still be around, even if you chastise us to the point that people want to use a different name. We're still here. Okay, next and last up for mailbag. This is a long one, folks, but this person says that they want to commend us for advocating for the citizens of North Dakota to get income tax relief. They're pretty sour on the whole Buffalo theme park, which turned out not to happen. They are aware of the situation. If you have a big theme park and it is successful, there are some downsides that you have to deal with then, and will that require more government? They do deal with a lot of horses, and they are saying that instead of a Buffalo theme park, perhaps government money should go to some of the nonprofits, which would be much better served, such as this. And lastly, they bring up that North Dakota taxes go to pay for the state fair in Minot, and it's really weird. They think that they have to pay state taxes for that, but then when they want to have have their horse exhibit, they are paying an additional $15,000 for the fees to have that at a park which is funded by state taxpayers. You know, they have a good point. Good point indeed. So that's it for mailbag. One more segment coming up. Stick with us. Executive orders.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Spas, etc. You've come to know and trust us for over 18 years with the largest selection and showroom in Western North Dakota for our beautiful Sundance spas. Plus, you can pick out your next home experience with our selection of pool tables, shuffleboards, and fun accessories.
Spas, etc. Your relaxation destination on Main and Bismarck.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York style pizza. We also feature gyros with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
All right, we are back. It's No Apologies on Beck, and you have made it to segment 5, the final segment of the night. We've kind of had a fun time tonight. I'm glad that you were with me, and I'm glad Claire popped in somewhat last minute. That was enjoyable. last segment, we're going to talk about a few executive orders. I've got 4 we may be covering here. Frequently, they're a little more involved. These are pretty short. You know, Biden's doing a bunch of executive orders. Why am I going through them? Because I want you to be informed and at least be aware that they're out there. First one, go ahead and pull it up. The first one is really simply rescinding Trump's executive order 13801. And it says here, in part, America's education system and workforce development programs are in need of reform. It goes on to say, higher education, however, is becoming increasingly unaffordable. Furthermore, many colleges and universities fail to help students graduate with the skills necessary to secure high-paying jobs in today's workforce. Far too many individuals today find themselves with crushing student debt and no connection to jobs. So that's that's a pretty true statement, and it recognizes a significant concern that many in the United States have. That was President Trump in his executive order. Let's read just a little bit more in the executive order that Biden has now rescinded. This is no more. Trump went on in his executive order, against this background of what we just spoke, federal funded education and workforce development programs are not effectively serving American workers. Despite the billions of taxpayer dollars invested in these programs each year, many Americans are struggling to find full-time work. These federal programs must do a better job matching unemployed American workers with open jobs, including the 350,000 manufacturing jobs currently available at that time. Very, very true. Expanding apprenticeships and reforming ineffective education and workforce development programs will help address these issues, no doubt. Americans need to be enabled to obtain relevant skills and high-paying jobs. And finally, federally funded education and workforce development programs that do not work must be improved or eliminated so that the taxpayer dollars can be channeled to more effective uses. This is one of the things I loved about President Trump. He was looking for efficiencies in government and eliminating waste. And how typical that we see our current administration rescinding an executive order like that. Next up, we've got a proclamation on remembering the 500,000 Americans lost to COVID-19. Now, this one, who can have a problem with it, right? It says as of this week, during the dark winter of the COVID-19 pandemic, more than 500,000 Americans have now died from the virus. That is more Americans who have died in a single year of this pandemic than in World War I, World War II, and the Vietnam War combined. And, I think it's absolutely fine that he's doing this. Does it mean anything? Does it do anything? It doesn't. It's a little bit more signaling. It's like throwing the hashtag out there. Remember when Michelle Obama did the hashtag because of the women that were taken as sex slaves in one of the African nations, and it was hashtag this, and that was somehow all. So, there was a moment of silence, and the flags were flown at half-staff. This isn't an incident. This is a pandemic. Certainly, each one of those 500,000 Americans, families are grieving, and it's a sad, sad thing. I'm not sure that, again, there's really much of a place for government to be involved here. All right, next up, we've got the notice on the continuation of the national emergency concerning the coronavirus disease in 2019. It says, on March 13th, 2020, by proclamation, the president declared a national emergency, that would be Trump, concerning the coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic continues to cause significant risk to the public health and safety of the nation. For this reason, the national emergency declared must continue in effect beyond March 1st, 2021. Now, I have a little problem with this because they're continuing the state of emergency, but to what end? What is it that they need to do? What is it that the nation as a whole must be in a state of emergency? The vaccines are already done. Trump did a great job getting that set up, and Biden is continuing with the effectiveness of getting the vaccinations out, if we're thinking that's a good thing. Numbers are down. The states are doing their own thing. There's no place for the federal government. And in the face of all of the data that is now out, everything that the federal government has done and advocated for has shown not to be helpful. as at the very, very least, they are unable to find the data and the studies to support their positions. Not there at all. So we're just following Fauci. Hey, get a vaccine, doesn't matter. You still got to mask up. You still got to do whatever. Nobody understands anything. You have half the country that wants to blindly follow what the government says, and you have half the country that wants to tell the federal government where to stick it. But there's no science out there that's valid in what their proclamations are. And the very last one is Cuba, and it's a continuation of the national emergency with respect to Cuba. This goes back in 1996 when a couple of aircraft were shot down in international space or international airspace. And the problem that I have here is that they are saying that we are going to not only still have these issues, these restrictions on Cuba, but we are, for this purpose, not going to allow any U.S. vessels to go into those waters because we're worried if vessels go into those waters, what we're saying is they may get shot at, but more than that, they are going to cause more refugees to come over. Now, it's really weird to me, and I mean, maybe I'm being, cynical, but it seems to me that the Cuban refugees are typically conservatives, and they typically vote Republican. Call me crazy, I don't know. But you have true refugees coming from Cuba, and they don't want them to come over. But you've got refugees from Nicaragua, Guatemala, other countries that are coming over, and they should be let in without any concerns whatsoever. Doesn't make sense to me. That's it for tonight, folks. Thanks. Stick around, and we are going to be back tomorrow night with another great show. Have a good night.